Welcome to the After Reality TV podcast. I'm Spencer Kitley.
I'm Danny Oler.
And The Bachelor in Paradise train, it keeps on rolling, and it is some good stuff, really good stuff. That, and we have a new Bachelor. So we're going to dive headfirst into both of those on the show. We'll even dive into the season to date on Big Brother a little bit. I've been really behind. It's been kind of a staple of our podcast, but we've only talked about it a couple of times this season. I'm looking forward to a great show. Dano, it was a solid week in TV. Before we get started, where can everyone find us online?
You can hook us up on Twitter at After Reality Pod or like our Facebook page, the After Reality TV podcast.
Dano, what's the good word? What's going on?
It's kickoff weekend. College football is getting started. It's going to start making some sacrifices. Only so many TV viewing hours in a day.
Sports, the original reality television show.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna. I've been, as our listeners know, I've been behind on a lot of TV shows. Still behind on a lot, and football season is gonna make it hard for me to get caught up on that big dent that I have. But like I said, did finally get caught up on Big Brother. Started making a dent in my backlog of Shaw's of Sunset, which I've watched some really good episodes of it. I'm some of the best ones I ever remember watching from that series.
The show's been over for like 3 weeks, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I've been like 10 episodes behind, so.
They're going to have a new season by the time you're done watching it.
Oh, I'm going to get caught up. We're speaking of new seasons. Bravo has a new one rolling out this coming week. Below Deck, the original, I guess that's season 4?
Yeah, it's called 4.
Yeah, season 4, because we've had 2 with Ben and then 1 with Leon, the chef, that no one liked.
But yeah, and then RZA's coming out with the show.
Reza has a show? No way.
It's like a real estate show. It's kind of like it's 2 couples moving in together. Do you move into the female house? Do you move into the male house? Or do you guys just buy a house? It's going to be on Bravo. It's him and another real estate agent.
So is it like $1 Million Listing?
No, it's more of like love it or leave it or flip it or flop it, something like that. So it's more of like a real estate kind of show.
Are they a couple already?
No, yeah, they're a couple, and they're deciding to move in together.
So it's not like Married at First Sight or one of those things.
No, it's called Yours, Mine, or Ours. And
Gotcha.
So do you move into her house? Does she move in your house, or do you guys buy a house?
I had watched, and speaking of Married at First Sight, I had watched the first season or the second season, I guess, of that. Didn't watch it this year. I talked to some people that were. Have you watched that at all?
What show?
Married at First Sight?
No, I haven't seen that.
I actually test drove another show a few weeks ago called Love at First Kiss.
No, I haven't seen that show.
You just walk into a room and you have to kiss each other immediately without even really speaking to one another and then decide if you want to date them or not.
What network is it? What's that on?
It's on one of the random. Actually, maybe A&E. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's a lot of reality out there. Although we're getting ready to head towards a bit of the reality TV wasteland, which is fall TV. But before we do, we've got some big stuff to talk about tonight on the podcast, Dano. And let's dive right in first. New Bachelor was announced on Tuesday night.
It was Luke.
It was going to be Luke. A new Bachelor was announced on the Trainwreck show that is After Paradise. Why is Chris Harrison not hosting the show? I know I ask it every week, but
every week you ask me the show.
It's terrible.
And every week I have no answer to. I've yet to see the show. I don't record it. I have no interest in it. I don't think I'm missing anything.
I watched
even when
it this week.
Even when he was hosting it, it wasn't that great.
Oh, but you at least saw that, and I saw that, and I can tell you this is infinitely worse. Although last night they did have Flula on. Are you familiar with the German comedian Flula?
I am not.
He's very funny. He does lots of YouTube videos. Actually, on one of our very earliest podcasts in a random review segment, I did a review of this comedian Flula and his YouTube videos. The only one that sticks out in my mind is one of his skit about Jennifer the party pooper, and Jennifer poops at parties. But anyhow, he was one of the guest guys along with that Paul Schur guy that's always on. And wow.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything about Nick or Luke or anyone, do you like Nick Viall being the Bachelor next season, season 21?
Hate it.
Hate it.
Hate it. I think it was a horrible decision.
This is now 4 of the last 6 seasons of the Bachelor franchise that he will have been on. The 2 that he won't have been on are Ben Higgins' season, obviously, and Bachelor in Paradise 2. So out of the last 6 seasons, he's been on 4 of them.
I don't get it. Why does he keep getting a shot?
I don't know if it's because of this kind of recovery story that he caught fire and become popular this season. We've talked about his unlikely heel to face turn, to use wrestling terminology on the podcast.
But isn't that just an editing thing? Like, you can edit Nick. I'm sure you could have edited Nick to be the bad guy this season if you wanted to be. Or you could have edited him to be the good guy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been I've listened to a couple podcasts that Nick's come on. I think I mentioned this last week. And he's gone out of his way a couple times to like really talk about how there's not really editing on the show. Like what they show you, those things actually happen. They're just telling a story. And it's interesting now that he's been doing that press, because he must have been in conversations all along, right?
Yeah, I think he, at least over this summer, especially, he's been in talks.
Yeah, and he was actually in talks at the same time Ben Higgins was. I don't know if you knew this. I learned this recently. But another guy was in talks, and a lot more than talks. Did you read about Luke?
I did read about Luke.
So Luke had his bags packed, a plane ticket, not just a plane ticket, he was checked in for his flight, not at the airport, but checked in, to go to Hollywood, begin filming some segments. He even had his sister lined up to come out for a date portion of an episode. Presumably, I mean, Luke is a, quote, entrepreneur / singer-songwriter. So presumably, like, at least for him, he didn't probably quit a job to go on the show. But what if he had? This is a dick move by CB or ABC.
It's TV, baby. That's just the way. It's the show business.
I mean, it kind of. We don't know exactly how it went down with Kayla, right? Last season, but kind of sounds similar. They've kind of flipped things around at the last minute, but this one just doesn't make any sense, because it's not like The Bachelorette just ended. Like, they've had plenty of time to figure this out, unless their whole thing was like, let's see how Nick catches on or doesn't catch on with the fans.
I think that's what it is. I think they were kind of playing, they had Luke, and they were trying to see how Nick's new attitude, new whatever you want to call it, was accepted by the fans.
Do you think Luke would have been a better option than Nick?
No, I don't know if he'd been a better option, but I don't think Nick was the right option either.
Would you enjoyed watching Luke more than you would have enjoyed watching Nick?
I don't know.
If Jordan Shipley's on?
Yeah, maybe if Jordan Shipley's on. See, that's the thing. I don't know if I wasn't like either pro Luke either. I don't know if Luke was the best option either.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about it several times, but why not go outside the franchise? Just just once. We haven't done it since Brad Womack.
Yeah, and I think this is what kind of. I mean, it's starting to be like glaring now that The Bachelor and Bachelorette hasn't had like a minority person yet as the lead, and it's starting now. It's like I think it's getting a lot of attention too, and it's wondering like even if they just like half-assed it somehow. And
Dan, I think you're forgetting. 3 seasons ago on The Bachelor, we had a minority bachelor.
Who?
Juan Pablo.
Juan Pablo doesn't count.
He's from Venezuela.
That's not what I'm talking about. You know it.
Was he not? Is not an American. He's Venezuelan. He's Latino.
I'm talking someone with a little darker skin color than Juan Pablo. Maybe 3 shades darker.
Okay. So Juan Pablo with a tan.
Yeah, maybe. At the very least, Juan Pablo with a tan.
Gotcha.
It's almost like you wonder if, like, Mike Fleiss either hates minorities or if Mike Fleiss is racist.
Well, maybe Mike Fleiss has market research that indicates that might not be the best decision for a show. I don't know. I'm not advocating one way or another.
I think he needs at least, like, yeah, it'd be interesting. You're right. That could be a problem. That could be it. But at the same time, this is like the only reality show that doesn't feature minorities at all.
It features them.
No, they're on token 2 weeks and then they're gone.
We've had Grant on all season in Paradise.
Okay.
Jamie's there this week.
20 plus seasons of this, and Grant is our champion. Grant's the one thing we can say, okay, good job, Mike Fleiss.
And
way to reflect the American population.
And we might even have a Grant Lace engagement. We might even have a Grant Lace wedding.
Hey, from my perspective, I saw the scenes for the next episode of Bachelor in Paradise, and Nick is looking at an engagement ring.
With who else but Neil Lane?
So you're telling me he gets engaged?
I do think
now he's the Bachelor?
We do. I think we do have at least 2 people get engaged. I mean, I think I said on the podcast several weeks ago that Lace has a new tattoo that says Grace. Grant and Lace. Grace. So read what you want into that. My money's on them being one of those engaged couples coming out of next week. Let's go ahead. So
just to close up, we are convinced that Mike Fleiss is a racist. Is that what you're saying?
That is what Dan Oler is saying. That is not what Spencer Kitley is saying. I would have liked to have gone outside the franchise. I probably would have preferred Luke, even though I don't think he's necessarily as interesting as Nick. Nick can be a fire starter. He can be dramatic. But he has been on our TV screen, like I said, a lot in the last 2-3 years. So be interesting to see exactly what the Andy Dorfman book says about Nick, which I'm sure will become more mainstream as he comes closer to his time of being on the air, which I guess that's usually, was that January, February?
Yeah, usually January, right after New Year's.
So, anyhow, let's jump into Bachelor in Paradise for this week and into a little segment that I was initially going to call the Love Triangle, and then I was going to call it the Love Square, and then I just had to say screw it and call it the Love Polygon, because there's a lot of sides to this thing. Coming back off of the cliffhanger this week of Kayla and Ashley catfighting, the lowest blow being when Kayla tells Ashley that Jared sees her like a sister. Ashley seems to have pulled it together a little bit, Dano, at least around some of this conversation. It kind of seems like they've agreed to stay out of each other's way. But why can Jared not just put Ashley in her place and just be like, look? Would it be that hard?
Well, I think he considers Ashley a friend, and He doesn't want to hurt her as a friend. The problem is Ashley. He could probably tell her every day for the next year that, hey, we're just friends, and Ashley will always think that there's a glimmer of hope that they will become more than friends.
Yeah. And really all this poor girl needs is someone to distract her. And I'm thinking as soon as that is kind of said, we're going to get a guy walking down the staircase and to Playa Escondida. Instead, we get the entrance of this story about her dog Lucy and how the spirit of Lucy is going to help her on her journey. And then little fake dogs in clouds summons from all over Mexico, and Wells arrives. Is this the biggest jumping of the shark of Bachelor in Paradise? I know they take a lot of liberties, but is this the worst?
I think Claire talking to the raccoon might be the worst.
Okay.
That was a pretty bad moment.
Yeah, well, wasn't Crazy Ashley S doing something last year in Paradise as well?
Talking to Fruits or something like that? Or a spider? Or I don't know.
I can't. Oh, it's parrots, right?
Maybe it was parrots. That could be it.
Yeah, and they have a massive bird cage there with probably a couple dozen of those green parrots. They're on site at Playa Escondida. You can even hold one if you ask to. So the dogs summons Wells. Who's more excited that Wells is there, Ashley or Jared?
Probably Jared.
Most definitely Jared. I thought it was interesting when Wells comes in. He goes and talks to Haley. Do you remember what Haley talked to him about?
No, I don't. I'm sure
instead of plugging herself, who was not tied to anyone,
yes.
She's plugging Ashley. I'm like, why would you plug yourself? You're there for apparently some reason, right?
Because she knew that if Ashley wasn't happy, nobody's happy.
It's like mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Exactly. So let's get Ashley happy first, and then we'll all work on our issues after that.
Yeah. And, of course, Kayla's plugging Ashley. That was interesting. What did you make of the way Wells announced to the world that he wanted to take Ashley out on a date?
I mean, he's probably kind of doing it condescendingly. I couldn't ask out Ashley. So he's like, fine, here I go. I am asking Ashley out.
Calls everyone over to him to the edge of the pool. So awkward. Big production. Every interview that they show, or the ITMs, as I believe they call them on The Bachelor, the in the moments, they're all Ashley-centric. He pulls the trigger. And almost an embarrassing round of applause for Ashley, but really for both of them, I would think. Wouldn't you think that would be a bit humiliating?
They're trying to make good TV too. So
yeah. So they go on this taco date. They pet some dogs. They eat some tacos. They seem to really hit it off. And I'm thinking, is it possible that this is the guy for Ashley? Because this is the best I've seen a date go that she's ever been on. She didn't get left out on an island with Crazy Kelsey or anything like that. But the Ashley drama's gone too far at this point in time for Kayla and Jared, the other members of that, quote, triangle. And Kayla wants to leave. Jared, rightfully so, can't take it anymore. Disappointed at all that he goes running after Kayla?
No, that's his woman. Who's he supposed to go running after? That was good for him. Showed commitment.
This had to have been produced, though, right? It wasn't just spur of the moment, like, I have none of my stuff packed, I'm running after the car. You think?
I think there's some production value into it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if his bags were in the car with her, but I think everyone knew what was going on.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't say, "Hey, can we go back and pick up my stuff here in a little bit?" Um, so he leaves. That kind of breaks Ashley a little bit, but she has Wells. But the thing that really breaks her, or at least a little bit, is the fact that the next morning, Jamie from Ben's season shows up, and no one's around. How early do they have her arriving? Or
I mean, we don't know what time they're sleeping.
Do the producers go in and wake Wells up and say, "Hey, can you come out here? Go sit by the pool"?
She could have just showed up at 10 o'clock, a normal time. But knowing those people that probably, since they don't, a lot of them don't have real jobs, they might sleep to 11:30.
Yeah, well, having been there, granted it's different when it's a TV show, I assume. It's not the kind of place you stay up real late. It's not like, and by that you don't sleep real late because you're not waking up real late or going to bed real late. And I've heard a few interviews here and there that they get up at 8 or 9 o'clock on most days. But I guess they could have all been up. They just weren't up at the pool or at the restaurant. It feels very rigged. The producer seemed to have set this up to drive a spike between Wells and Ashley. Like, hey, we just lost Jared, Kayla. Maybe we need to throw something else into this mix and see if we can fully break Ashley. Any credence to that?
There might be. I mean, I think when you're in a large group of people, you might stay up longer than you might if you're on vacation. So I kind of think a lot of them were sleeping. I doubt they emptied the whole area just so Wells and Ashley, Wells could pop in all by himself.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I'm sure they my guy Jorge, I bet when they finished filming the show, he's working some long hours. But anyhow, Wells ends up going on this date. He doesn't even get to tell Ashley he's going on the date because she's still sleeping. And I think speaking of my boy Jorge, I think he said it best, Dano. Early bird gets the worm.
Right. And Wells is doing this right. You're in paradise. You're supposed to date as many women as possible.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid of the teary-eyed Ashley Kardashian. It is a rude awakening when she finally wakes up. She takes it fairly well. Jamie and Wells have a solid date. But he comes back to a bit of a teary-eyed Ashley. And it keeps going on from there. We add some more people to that mix. Later in the episode, we saw Lauren Himlay and Shoshana, both from Ben Higgins' season. They both show up. I guess it's Shoshana that takes Wells on a date. Ashley resorts to calling her like a Russian hooker or something. Was that what she called her?
Something along that lines, yeah.
Euro trash, sorry, but there was a Russian comment in there as well, which seems a little bit curt. But while we're on those two, do you remember Lauren H., the kindergarten teacher from Ben's season?
Yes.
Yeah, she was on for a while. She's probably like top 8, 7, something like that. Do you remember her having such a distinct Wisconsin accent?
No, I guess I didn't really think about it.
I didn't remember it at all, but it was very distinct on Bachelor in Paradise this week. And she's moving swiftly with Brett, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Of course, we only have 1 week left. You have Brett and Lauren, and then Brett's also tied with. I'm going to jump into one of our other kind of long-term couples, Grant and Lace. Walk me through the situation with Carl and Grant and Lace at the swimming pool.
I think we can't take anything seriously because Lace is crazy.
She's psychotic.
So I think us like kind of analyzing what a normal person would do wouldn't matter because she's not normal.
Was there anything there that seemed extremely inappropriate between Lace and Carl?
No, I think she just talked to him and putting some feel. I think she was just trying to make Grant jealous.
And then walks away and tells him good luck getting a rose tomorrow. She's got a switch, and then she starts talking. She cuts deep, and it's like I'm not a doctor to diagnose someone, but there's some definite like that switch flips in a blink of an eye, and I mean she's telling him to have fun falling in love with someone else because she can't be in a relationship with him.
She's crazy.
I guess I'd forgotten a little bit about how crazy she was on Ben's season, saying she wasn't crazy all the time. She was being comforted by everyone, including Ashley I of all people. Why is she so mad and pissed at him? It's awkward for the viewer. It's awkward for the people there.
She might just be pushing his buttons, seeing how he'll react.
I think she's just immature.
That could be it.
I think she's only 24.
All right.
I think some of these people we think about, like them being a little older, which it shocks me now when I see that Ashley's 28 years old on the screen. She just doesn't seem 28 to me. Anyhow, Crazy Lace, she's back. She even tells Grant that she's had enough of that word in reference to love. Do you think she's wasted throughout all of this? It's during the day.
No, I think she might just be put off by the fact that Grant has known her for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, and he's using the L word already, and he's moving quicker than she's probably used to.
So she's uncomfortable, so she's resorting to being aggressive and a bit immature?
Exactly.
But her behavior does resemble angry drunkenness.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I didn't say she's sober.
Okay. So I'm interested to see where that goes. I already shared my antidote. Let's talk about Nick and Jen for a moment.
It's almost pointless to talk about Nick and Jen because we know what happens with Nick.
I know. I'm calling them the irrelevance now. They did have this one scene, though, where Amanda tells them that they can sleep up in the treehouse that night because there's like 2 different love nests based on what Jorge told me last fall when I was there.
Boom boom rooms.
2 boom boom rooms, if you will. Amanda says, "Yeah, you guys can have that room tonight." And Josh, "Hey, no, we're sleeping up there." Meanwhile, Amanda's passed out in her bed. In her room, and Josh is weird. He wasn't like this on Andy's season.
Again, it's all about editing. It's just what side of the coin are we getting from season to season?
I mean, he was polished on Andy's season. This year, it's almost like rehearsed. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think he's part of it. He has to be defensive the whole time he's in Mexico. People are coming at him all the time, like, oh, you're this and you're that. This is what Andy said about you.
Is he hard for you to watch?
No, because I think it's good TV. I think every time he's on the screen, it's usually some sort of reactions happening.
Well, even the scenes where he's on a date with Amanda and it's like just very matter of fact, and that's why I love you and blah, blah, blah. And you're so beautiful and I'm going to love your kids. And it's just like, it's so scripted. I don't know if it's just the way he emphasizes his words or the inflection on his words or his enunciation. I don't know what it is, but bugs me. But the one thing I did want to talk about Nick and Jen, when Jen says, I might get ready to go to bed, and Nick's response, what does that entail? Which I thought was an interesting response. Curious if they ever did make it to the treehouse. Did end up staying together after the rose ceremony. We saw the usual suspects pair up. There wasn't really a question with any of them. So Amanda Lace, at the time, Kayla, Izzy, Jen, Ashley, I, and Carly all give it to their expected suitors. But this was more the night that the twins blew up the show. Do you think the producers were frustrated, caught off guard, that they lost 5 people in one night? After having lost 2 people, well, actually, I guess they lost Kayla and Jared post-rose ceremony.
Well, part of me thinks it was a stupid rule to have the twins as one person.
But they weren't one person when they were giving the roses.
But they were always kind of linked, right? And then that's what I always, especially when the guys were giving roses, like one of them had to get a rose.
Yeah, only one of them got a rose if the guys were giving them, but if they were giving them, they both got to give roses.
Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't like this. One, I don't like the casting of twins. I mean, I like both of those people, both of the girls as individuals. I don't like how they were framed as like twins, almost like they were 2 people who was one person. I didn't like it on their Bachelor season. I didn't like it in Bachelor in Paradise. I thought it'd just be maybe if you had one on one season and one on the next season or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just felt like they put themselves in a position where it wasn't going to end well when you were dealing with twins. Particularly
when half the people there can't even tell them apart, much less us poor people on TV who don't even know them. Daniel did try to put the moves on the twins with a platter of fried food before the end of that rose ceremony. Did the same thing with a Canadian floor lamp with Izzy.
And that was pointless too, because like it seemed like the twins were using Daniel to stay, and Daniel was using the twins to stay. When in reality, they weren't interested in each other.
Yeah. So Daniel, Ryan, Carl, they all left. And it seems like the twins could have given their roses to these guys and then said they were leaving. There's no rules, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, was there any point for those guys staying?
There might have been. They might have liked Jamie. They might have liked Lauren. They might have liked Shoshana.
Yeah, that's the way.
As opposed to having those girls only be able to look at Wells and Brett. Might have been interesting. I would like to see the twins kind of give those, hey, I'm not going to stay, but I want to give you this rose so you can stay kind of thing. Don't know. Just talking through things. So they blew up Paradise. But it was Josh Murray that really brought the explosion to Paradise, should we say. And the twins had a lot to do with this. What do you think of the twins pulling Amanda aside and really kind of setting off these fireworks on their exit?
I think it was horrible. Like, they basically just repeated what Nick told them, and they didn't have any evidence of Josh doing anything bad or being mean. And they were just like, we've heard things. We just want you to know that. And they got Amanda all worked up. And it just became a domino effect, all on hearsay.
You don't think the twins are big readers?
No, I don't think they read the book. I don't think anyone on that beach read the book.
Yeah, I think Nick actually has an educated view of some of what's in there.
He still hasn't read the book. I guarantee you he hasn't read the book.
Yeah. Do you know who's the biggest fan of Bachelor in Paradise, period, this season?
No.
Andy Dorfman.
Andy Dorfman.
This is like the best press you could ever get for a book. They're talking about it every week on national television.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if her Amazon rank has gone up.
something for us to dig into before the finale to see how Andy Dorfman's book sales have risen throughout this season. Because I mean, I'm interested to know what it actually says.
This effect, everyone's interested, but no one wants to read it.
Yeah.
That's the point.
I'd be much more apt to read Courtney Robertson's book than Andy Dorfman's book.
Yeah.
Because Courtney Robertson just seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I guess that's just what everyone's saying. Josh is a bad guy, but it's just like all this hearsay, and everyone's like, I heard this, I heard that. You know, he's bad towards female. He's aggressive. And it just got Amanda worked up for no reason.
Yeah. But this did spawn this whole conversation about Josh's having not done anything in 6 months because he's been taking his dog to chemo. Dano, do you remember something else that Josh Murray's been doing in the last 6 months or so?
He was on a dating show.
Famously single.
That's right.
He's been doing nothing but watching his sick dog. I don't doubt that his dog's sick. Not here to make that judgment. But you've been on another reality show very recently. He can't handle this. He's pulled everyone down to the beach. Instead of going up to where he's the only one on the beach, instead of going up to where everyone is, he makes everyone come down to him. And they do it. It's a very stern talking to. Some might call it a butt chewing. Tells everyone there he's for the right reasons. Tells everyone his dog story. And he asks, do you not feel if I'm genuine? And I wouldn't have had it any other way, Dano, than to have Nick Viall be the one to answer this question. And I already stated it. I don't know that I know he's genuine. I'm sure if anyone else there heard him talk about anything, they would have their doubts too. And I think any doubts they have are very justified.
I'm surprised Josh hasn't punched Nick in the face yet.
I'm thinking he's getting close.
And I don't know if I would blame Josh if he punched Nick in the face.
But Nick hasn't really done anything to Josh.
No, not to Josh, but he talks about Josh to other people, and then it spreads, and these little gossip trains start. And then it gets back to Amanda, and then Amanda gets upset, and then Josh gets upset.
Yeah. Nick does think Josh wants to murder him.
And rightfully so. If Nick talked about me all the time when I wasn't around, it would bug the crap out of me.
Did we talk about this on the show? You know, I picture Nick as being a little guy. He's like 6'2" or 6'3". Would you have guessed that?
It's hard to tell because his hair, right? He's got really high hair all the time.
It'd be interesting to see what hairstyle he rolls with on...
That might be the most interesting part about him being on The Bachelor.
Yeah, and I've never been a big fan of Nick. I've always kind of thought he was a very average-looking guy. Now he's like this guy that's going to be fawned over and sought after by 25, 26 women. I mean, this is the guy that back when it was still a podcast, the Right Reasons podcast gave him the nickname Normcore Nick for just being unremarkable and normal and wearing very normal clothes. So, be interesting to see where we go with that. Do have a few kind of miscellaneous items for us here, Dano. Didn't really fit into any of our segment. Wanted to touch on real quick. One is a question. Who do you think Wells was going to choose out of his three options of Jamie, Shoshana, Ashley I?
I don't think he picks anybody.
No?
No. What do you mean pick? Like I don't think
he's going to have to give out. He's going to have to give out a rose on Monday night.
Oh, a rose. I think Ashley.
And then on Tuesday, the couples are that are still there will have to decide who they want to be with, or if they want to be with them, or if they want to give it a go. There is one more girl yet to show up, Chicken Girl, Tiara. who I think was from Ben Higgins' season as well. So I'm curious to see if Wells and Ashley I worked out. That would be awesome. I'd be all in for that. Like, she deserves to not cry so much, and maybe that would happen for her. So a couple of black boxes this week, Dano.
Yep,
Surfing, but more namely, black box on Evan's crotch post-Carly makeout. I don't even want to think about why we have that black box there. I know, but I don't want to think about it.
Gotta give something for the ladies.
Give them the black box of the most unappealing man there.
It's something.
Yeah. But looks like a lot bigger mess next week for Grant and Lace. Looking forward to that. And you watched the scenes from the next. Did you watch the final credits? One of my actually favorite parts of Paradise. Did you watch this with Brett?
Probably not.
Smashing his floor lamp on the big rocks right there on the beach in the ocean. Just smashing it to bits. Which makes me very curious why. There was nothing in the episode we saw, either of the episodes we saw this week, that would provoke an angry Brett that I can think of. Can you?
Maybe he was putting the lamp to rest, the whole lamp bit.
Yeah, well, my thought was, like, you just broke all this glass on the beach and in the ocean. Thanks a lot, pal. But I don't know. Maybe they had two good outtakes, and they moved that one forward this week because he's going to get ditched by Izzy. I don't know, but probably not because he's the one going to be giving out the rose. Before we wrap things up on Paradise, anything else you want to touch on?
I think we covered it all.
Take a quick look. We were supposed to be joined by our friend Matt Gray over at Fantasy for Reality tonight, but something came up, so hopefully we can touch base again with him around the finale, as Chris Harrison would call it. But we'll take a look right now over at our Fantasy Bachelor in Paradise Season 3 game. I'm making up for some lost time in the last few seasons. My squad has benefited greatly from several people leaving on their own volition. 2 this week. Almost a double up, Dano. I'm a little over 5,000. You're around 2,800. So tough row to hoe in the final 2 episodes there. So we've talked Bachelor. We've talked Bachelor in Paradise. Let's talk just a little bit on the season that's been so far on Big Brother. Just kind of checking in, taking your pulse, Dano. What's your kind of sentiment on the season that's been here on season 18 of Big Brother?
Yeah, not good, not bad. I think it's just been average.
It's been a pretty vanilla season. I have enjoyed – I wasn't a Victor fan at all at the very beginning. Didn't like him, didn't like Jose, didn't like Paul. But it's been fun to watch Victor win his way back in the house twice. That's kind of fun. Something we haven't ever seen before.
The fact that he doesn't get targeted more because of that blows my mind.
Yeah, and I've struggled with this season. We had, I guess, what do we have? We have 16 people in the house. And there just hasn't been a great rooting interest or a person that I really want to root for other than Frank, who's been gone for quite some time. Is there anybody in there that you would like to win Big Brother?
I think at this point it'd be James.
Yeah, I don't mind James. Paul's actually grown on me a little bit. I feel like he's pretty funny.
No, I can't stand Paul. I hate people who yell at the camera during their interviews. I can hear you. You have a mic. We're all good.
They don't do that on their own. They get them to do that.
I get it. Fine. Not all of them do it though. There's like 1 or 2 a season do it.
He's a fun guy. I don't know that I really care who wins. Usually there's somebody I don't want to win, and I don't even think there's a person that I don't want to win in the house. So Going to be interesting to see what happens down the stretch. This week, though,
Nicole, I think Nicole is probably who I don't want to win.
You don't like Nicole?
It's just
so
it's like her second season of this.
was she on last year or 2 seasons ago?
It felt like last year. It could have been 2 years ago for all I know. But
was Derek and Cody? Derek and Cody was 2 seasons ago, right?
2 seasons ago, yeah.
And she was on that one.
Yeah, okay.
Because that was her showmance. I don't know who won last season.
I don't know. I don't memorize Survivor or Big Brother. They kind of come in one year and they leave the other.
Gotcha. So this week, Nicole's the HOH. She's also won the veto. The people on the block are Michelle and Paul. So then the people with the votes are Nicole and Corey, James and Natalie, the 2 couples.
Showmances is what they called it on Inside the House.
With the showmances, Dano, what do you think happens in that vote this week?
I don't know. I mean, I think they realize that Paul's a threat and they get rid of him. It seems like they've made the right decisions this whole season.
I think they have to get rid of Paul because if Paul and Victor are there and Paul and Victor can both compete for the HOH, they're going to break up those couples because that's the most dangerous to their game. And in the long run, Paul could beat you in a comp. Paul can beat you in the final 2. Michelle cannot really beat you in a comp, and Michelle more than likely cannot beat you in the final 2. Would you agree with that?
Probably. Can we talk about Michelle for a second? What makes you a super fan? Is there a test you have to take or something like that? Like, how do you get labeled a super fan versus me, who's a casual fan?
Well, I don't. Would I be a super fan since I've seen every episode of 18 seasons?
I guess I don't know. I don't know what the levels of fans.
But at the same time, I just had to look up who won last season. It was Steve, the nerdy guy, who would sit in the room and talk to himself. So he wouldn't have confrontations with anyone. He would just talk to himself. And I think he had kind of linked up with one of the twins maybe to get to the end, or at least took one of the twins with him, if I remember correctly.
Well, I just want to know what makes a super fan. Like, I hate how she's like, oh, a super, and then everyone calls her a super fan. Like,
what probably makes you a super fan is when you try out or interview for the show, you tout yourself as such.
I don't know. But it seems like everybody knows there's the Zingbot, challenges. Everyone knows there's the slippery slide challenges. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows this stuff. I don't know what makes you a Bucks Marie, she goes like, I'm a super fan. Like, I don't know what that means.
Again, they're probably asking her to say these things, but yeah, you know that there's Zingbot, you know that there's OTEV, you know that Mr. Pectacular is probably going to show up at some point. You know there's going to be that game that they played this week for veto where you have to look at a small number of things in a box and decide how many there are in total. You know that there's going to be some kind of tossing balls or bags or whatever into numbered slots to determine who stays, and trivia and whatnot. Those parts are easy. I think the super fan piece more comes in when you know all the players and kind of how they played and whatnot, which I can do to some extent, but I wouldn't consider myself super fan. I would just consider myself knowledgeable about the seasons of Big Brother. Still in my book, nobody tops Dr. Will, the evil doctor, although Evil Dick might run a close second, along with Derek, the policeman from 2 seasons ago. Those guys, along with maybe Dan Giesling, like kind of the Mount Rushmore in the Big Brother world. And they all won.
All right. So be it, super fan.
So be it. Maybe I am a
So be
super
it.
fan. I'm creating Mount Rushmores of Big
Yeah.
Brother cast members. But,
Are you excited about Big Brother Over the Top?
Big Brother Over the Top, yeah, they came out with some news today around that. Only one episode a week online, but then they will show the comps live whenever they happen as not part of that show, I guess, or maybe
Yeah.
it is part of that show. It didn't say if it was a subscription thing, so I'm assuming it's free unless you want to watch the 24-hour live cams.
No, it's part of like CBS Direct or something like that. They're launching 3 new series that I think it's like $4.99 a month.
Okay.
And then like Big Brother's going to be on it. The new Star Trek series is going to be on it, and then a spin-off of The Good Wife.
Okay, so you're not paying for Big Brother, you're paying for a subscription like you would HBO Go or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like CBS's digital network.
Gotcha.
It sounds horrible.
Well, I mean, they probably weren't making traction with just their regular programming, so they're trying to think outside the box. So, I mean, good on them for trying to think up something that might not work. But
the average CBS viewer is like 106. So it'd be interesting to see how well this does.
We're skewing that down, Dano.
So it's like 101.
No, there's plenty of people out there that are watching Big Brother. I know people younger than us, in their mid-20s watching Big Brother.
I get that, but CBS is the oldest skewing network on TV by far.
Among the big nationals, yes.
Yes.
So, any other newsy items for you?
No, I think we're good to go. I think we're getting, wrapping up the summer season, and then it's going to be fall time, and we're going to be done.
Yeah, we have 20 days, I think, until Survivor premieres, and that'll really be the only fall show. So it'll be a great time for us to really ramp up into some random reviews and start checking out different new things. Maybe Rez's show, Below Deck, we can keep tabs on. So looking forward to some of those, but admittedly, will be a slow time of the year. Dana, before we go ahead and get out of here, let everybody know where they can find us online.
You can hit us up on Twitter at After Reality Pod, or hit our Facebook page, the After Reality TV Podcast.
It's so hard to announce, but I bet you can tell us your Twitter handle a little cleaner.
At Daniel Ohler, OEHLER.
You can find me on Twitter at Spencer Kitley, all one word. Next week, Bachelor in Paradise finale. Until then, finale. But until then, we remind you, we like bears and Mexican food right here on the After Reality TV podcast.